What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Lion, and a few days ago on my Instagram stories, I asked you guys to share some of your most unpopular opinions when it comes to dating and relationships, and you guys definitely delivered. So I wanted to make this video today to kind of like discuss some of the most unpopular dating opinions out there and give you my perspective. So without further ado, let's just get right into this video. All right, so let's just get into some of the juicy ones right off the bat instead of easing our way into it. Maybe it's okay to have sex on the first date to see if you're compatible in that way. Great question, by the way, and this is something that I see a lot of people kind of disagree on social media. And when I posted that story on my Instagram, I know that the poll was almost 50-50. There's a lot of people who think that it's a great idea to get this right out of the way as quickly as possible to see if you have that, physical and sexual compatibility, right? So you don't waste your time with the wrong person. And there are a whole lot of other people who are under the impression and think and believe that you should take your time before you engage in physical intimacy. So where do I fall in this? Let me start by saying that I believe strongly that physical intimacy, right, and then sexual compatibility is an extremely important factor when it comes to building a healthy romantic relationship with another human being, right? It's extremely important. If that component is not there, if we don't feel satisfied, especially at these early stages, it's going to be very difficult to build that healthy long-term relationship with that person. So it is important to test physical and sexual compatibility before potentially moving in together or getting married. With that being said, I also believe that by engaging in physical intimacy and sleeping with the person too quickly throughout the dating process, so whether that's on the first date, on the second date, on the third date, or even on the fourth date, right? If you engage in that physical intimacy too quickly, what you are doing, especially as a woman, is creating that hormonal response to another person. You are becoming very attached to a specific outcome with that specific person, which puts you now in a place where you are desperately trying to force this relationship to go somewhere, which is not somewhere you want to be at the early stages of dating, because that desperate energy that you're then going to create is just going to push people further away from you, right? You don't want to become emotionally attached to a person that you don't even know yet. You see, before you even find out whether or not you have similar values and similar beliefs and similar goals, whether or not you even want the same type of relationship, right? If you already sleep with him and you are already creating that emotional, hormonal attachment to him, right? It's going to be very difficult for you, if not impossible, to continue looking at him and assessing this relationship from an objective point of view, where you are genuinely taking your time to make sure that you have that compatibility factor. If you're already engaging in that physical intimacy, if you're already sleeping with him, chances are you're going to start ignoring some of the red flags. You're going to start blinding yourself to some of the reasons why this relationship might not work out because you're already invested, because you're already emotionally invested in this specific relationship with this specific person. So although I believe that there's a time and place for everything, and there is a time and place to test that physical component to make sure that you do have that sexual compatibility, I don't think that it should be done before you guys take the time to really get to know one another and date each other for at least a month or two. All right, next question, and this one is as juicy as the last one. Dating multiple people should be the standard. It's the common thing to do. Another huge controversial point, and potentially a very unpopular opinion with some groups. I feel like based on the Instagram poll results, you guys are very separate on that question as well. A lot of people think that dating multiple people should be standard. Well, there are also a lot of people who think that you should not be dating more than one person at the same time, that maybe even dating multiple people at the same time is a form of cheating on these people. Now, let me tell you where I stand on that. The reason why most people struggle with dating multiple people at the same time, right, and struggle to understand and accept the fact that dating multiple people at the same time could be a good idea is because they don't change their way they're dating. You see, if you date multiple people at the same time, the same way that you would normally approach dating one person at the same time, you would not be able to date multiple people at the same time. You see, if you're dating multiple people, and you are going on dates with all of these people, and then you are, potentially engaging in different levels of intimacy with all of these different people simultaneously, right, within the same week or within the same month, maybe even on the same day, right, if you're going on more than one date on that day. If you're engaging in physical intimacy, right? So if you're kissing someone today, and then you might be sleeping with someone else tomorrow, and then you're holding hands and you talking about your potential, future with that relationship with someone else, and then you decide to take a weekend getaway with another person, right? All of that dating becomes very, very murky, becomes very difficult to navigate, right? You might even yourself feel like you're cheating on these people. And that's why you need to adjust the way you date. You see, the dating process is supposed to allow you to get to know a person. It's supposed to allow you to assess compatibility, make sure that you have similar values, similar beliefs, and similar goals with the person before you choose and decide to engage in certain levels of intimacy. And intimacy could be a lot of things. It's not necessarily just sleeping with them, but kissing them, holding hands with them, going on weekend getaways with them, potentially introducing them to your loved ones or maybe your children and vice versa. All of these things are display of intimacy that need to be reserved to a point where you have already kind of established a certain level of compatibility with each other by dating each other for a little while now. So if you are dating multiple people at the same time and you are setting very strict boundaries for yourself around how far you're willing to go with each person as you're only really getting to know them, as you're only really establishing a certain friendship with these people, then you're going to be more than fine. It is actually something I would personally recommend because as you are dating multiple people at the same time, you are creating an abundance mindset. You know that there are a lot of people out there that could potentially be in a relationship with you, that there are a lot of people out there who would want to be in a relationship with you, who are interested in spending time with you. You're also really sharpening your dating skills. You're becoming better at having conversations. You're becoming better at flirting. You're becoming better at just, nurturing attraction, setting boundaries for yourself, all of those things. So while I think it's a really good idea that you date multiple people at the same time, right? When you start dating them, I also think that in order to be able to do that, you need to be very strict with yourself about the boundaries that you set for yourself at these stages. You need to really understand what these boundaries should be, how to set them, how to communicate them. You know what? As I'm going through this video, I kind of had a quick idea. How about you guys participate with me? So at the end of this video, and I'm going to give you 5 points, 5 unpopular opinions, and I'm going to give you my point of view on them. But I would love to hear from you guys. So in the comments, once you finish the entire video, just write down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and on each of these points, tell me if you agree or disagree. Right? Do you agree with the unpopular opinion or you disagree with that unpopular opinion? I'm just really curious to see where you guys stand on that. All right, so let's continue. The third point, let's find something that's also as juicy as the first 2 topics. How about this one? Ghosting. So the controversial opinion or the unpopular opinion is ghosting is not rude. No response is a response. And I know this one is probably one of the most controversial topics that I ever discuss on my channel because I feel like people are really separated on it. And I feel like a lot of people on both sides are really passionate about their point of view. You see, I don't think that ghosting has anything to do with being rude per se. I think that being rude is very subjective. What might be considered rude by some people might not be considered rude by others. I do understand the discussion around whether or not ghosting is something that hurts another person. And here's my perspective on it. You see, how we feel about certain things, right, is dependent entirely based on how we think about those things. So if you look at ghosting as a sign of someone trying to maliciously hurt you or maliciously trying to disrespect you, if you look at ghosting as a sign that you're potentially not good enough to be in a relationship with that person, if you look at ghosting as potentially a sign of failure, that you have failed something or you have not done something right in order to deserve a certain level of respect, you will continuously get hurt. If you're waiting for someone to provide you with any sort of clarity in order for you to be even able to move on with your life, then ghosting is going to hurt you, and it's going to hurt you repeatedly. You see, rejection is a very normal part of life. I, like a lot of people, used to get very, very hurt when I used to get ghosted. Whether by potential jobs, where I used to go and interview and never hear back from them, I used to get very angry. I used to never understand why wouldn't they just call me to let me know that I wasn't chosen instead of just completely ghosting me and not responding to my emails. I used to get very, very angry at people that I initially thought I really connected with and we had a good conversation, maybe even a good potential first date, and then never hear from them again. And I used to wait. I used to wait for a very long time for them to release me. I used to wait for them to provide me with a certain level of closure, to let me know why they decided not to pursue this relationship with me. What I really genuinely thought is that I needed it. I really thought that I needed someone to tell me that the reason why they didn't want to connect with me is because XYZ, because they liked someone else more than they liked me, because they didn't feel like we would be a good match, because they weren't attracted to me physically or emotionally or on another level. And what I realized with time is that I did not need them to release me, and that the reason for why someone does not want what I want with me is completely irrelevant, because it doesn't mean that I'm doing something wrong. It doesn't mean that I need to change something within myself. It only means that we are not compatible. And by ghosting me, they're basically telling me without any ambiguity, right? They're communicating to me through their silence without any ambiguity that they're not my person and that I can now move on with my life and explore other options. So I definitely understand where a lot of people are coming from when they say that ghosting is rude and disrespectful and hurtful. But I also now understand that it's what you make of it. Even to this day, I get ghosted in a whole bunch of different areas of my life on a regular basis. But now it provides me with a certain level of clarity. Now when someone ghosts me, I just feel relieved. I just feel grateful for the fact that I now know without any ambiguity what I need to do next. All right, number 4, and this one is another good one. Right person at the wrong time is still the wrong person. We are different versions and other things may misalign later. So I hear this a lot, right? Right person, wrong time. I met the right person at the wrong time, right? I get a lot of clients who tell me that they might have met someone who was, perfect for them, but they just met them at the wrong time. Maybe, one of you guys or both of you guys have been maybe in relationships or married back then. Or maybe you guys were too busy with other components, other aspects of your lives. Maybe you were separated by distance because you lived in different places. Whatever the reason may be, I genuinely believe that the right person at the wrong time is just like saying the wrong person. And just like this person suggested, I agree with that 100%. You see, throughout our lives, we grow, we develop, and we change. If you ask me personally, I would tell you that I'm not the same person I was 2 years ago, let alone 5 or 10 years ago. And I don't think I'm going to be the same person 2 years from now or 5 or 10 years from now. And the same is true for most people. As we grow older, as we learn things, we change, we adapt, we become different people. So if you meet someone at a certain period or time of your life, and there seems to be a lot of points that make you compatible to each other, but there is at least one thing that separates you. Maybe that's that distance, the fact that you guys are in relationships, or whatever these things are. If you say to yourself that this is the right person, just at the wrong time, you're basically just holding on to a fantasy. Because say timing was different. Say it wasn't back then, but it is today. You are completely different people. So although that one thing, let's say that today you are both single because you both got, divorced or because both of your relationships ended. And the one thing that was the reason that held you guys apart is no longer there, is no longer applicable. That doesn't mean that all these other things are going to align now. You guys are different people. So although that one thing now aligns, there could be a whole bunch of other things that are still going to hold you guys apart, that are still not going to make it possible for you to build a relationship. So without digging too deep into this, the right person at the wrong time just sounds nice, right? It's something we like to say. It's something that we like to romanticize. But it's just like saying the wrong person. Be very careful if he excessively spends a lot of money on you in the early stages as he's getting to know you. I really saw that a lot of people DM me as a result of that question, really asking me, why is this a problem? Why is this something that I should be concerned about? I even had a lot of people who were telling me, wait, isn't that the best part, that he spends all this money at the beginning, right? To make sure that they win me over? Am I supposed to just refuse that? Shouldn't I be, allowing him to spoil me and buy me all of these things and impress me with his, financial abilities? So let me tell you what I think about that. I really think that there is a threshold here, right? While I do believe in the, traditional gender roles when it comes to dating, as a feminine woman, you would be attracted to a masculine man, someone who is a provider. With that being said, if someone feels the need, right? If a man feels the need to excessively spend on you. So what do I mean by excessively spend on you? Like, I don't mean like, he takes you out on dates and he like, what I mean, maybe buys you like a dinner, or he buys you, coffee, or he buys you, ice cream, or he like, pays for some of the activities that you guys are doing, right? I feel like that's very, very normal and okay, and should be to a certain extent expected, right? Although I do believe that as a woman, you should continuously offer to, share the bill and potentially pay for your share. That's a topic for another video. So with that being said, I don't think that that's considered, an excessive spending. But if you're just getting to know one another, so it's been maybe a couple of weeks or a few dates, right, at this point, or maybe even before the first date, and he is already, buying you jewelry, or he's buying you, other expensive gifts, or maybe he even, offers you a certain vacation, and you guys are barely getting to know one another, and he's already offering you, a trip to the Bahamas together or whatever. You should be worried about that. You should be concerned about that. And I personally believe that you shouldn't, accept those gifts at these early stages. I'm not saying that these gifts are always going to come from a malicious place. I'm not saying that the man is always trying to, trick you into something if he's paying for all of these expensive things. But what I am saying, if a man feels like he needs to potentially buy your affection and just distract you from himself with all of these expensive things and gifts and trips and all of that stuff, you should at this point pay a lot more attention to just his personality. Be able to see if you guys share similar values, similar beliefs, whether or not you can laugh at each other's jokes and you have similar senses of humor, whether or not you like to do and engage in similar activities, instead of just focusing on his ability to buy you a Chanel bag. The other thing that I wanted to say is that it could definitely also be a sign of love bombing. If somebody's buying you expensive gifts right off the bat, they're in a hurry. They're trying to win your affection over as quickly as possible. They don't want to waste their time, for weeks or even months, taking the time to really get to know you, but rather they would just want to win your affection very, very quickly. And if they're doing that, they might have ulterior motives. If they're trying to buy your affections with gifts and vacations and all of that very quickly, they might want something out of you. And whether that's the physical component of their relationship or something else, I don't know if you guys have watched The Tinder Swindler, but if they're trying to get something out of you, they might employ these tactics, buying things for you and all that, in order to win your affection very quickly. So yes, I do believe that you should be careful and that you should take the time before you allow someone to spend a lot of money on you. All right, so this brings me to the end of this video. So again, let me know in the comments below, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Watch the video again if you have to, and let me know if you agree or you disagree with each point. I'm really curious. Also, feel free to let me know in the comments below, what are some of your unpopular opinions when it comes to dating and relationships? And maybe if you guys like this video, I will use that and put it in my next video. Let me know if this is something you enjoyed, if this is something you want me to do more of. Give me a thumbs up, write something down in the comments. Let me know, yeah, I want you to do more videos like that, and I'll be more than happy to do that. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.